Dave Keating is at the EU Parliament in Brussels, and he has been following the visit of Svetlana Tikhanovskaya today there in Brussels. Dave, she's been trying to get the EU to impose sanctions over this alleged vote rigging in Belarus. What are the chances of that actually happening?
Well, probably not today. She's actually just finished speaking to these demonstrators behind me outside the European Parliament. These are her supporters asking the EU to take a tough line against Lukashenko for that election that the EU says was not free and fair, and of course the very heavy-handed crackdown on protesters protesting the result of that election. Now, this morning she was talking to the EU foreign ministers, then she came here to the European Parliament where she spoke with European Parliament President David Sassoli. Now, she's been diplomatic and not wanting to say directly that she wants sanctions against Belarus, but that is really the gist of what she's come here to ask for, and she's surely feeling frustration for the reason that this isn't happening, and that is because Cyprus is blocking an approval of these sanctions. It says that in order for it to end its veto, it wants the EU to adopt sanctions against Turkey for oil and gas drilling and what it says is its waters. Now, the two issues are not connected at all, but Cyprus wants to hold out approval of this in order to get the EU to act tough on Turkey. What they're essentially asking for is that the issue be delayed until an EU summit happening here in Brussels with prime ministers and presidents, which is dedicated to Turkey. They want this issue to stay open until then so they can use it as a kind of bargaining chip. But countries in the EU, particularly countries in Eastern Europe, are saying we don't have time. The EU needs to show strong solidarity with the Belarusian opposition and put pressure on Lukashenko now. We can't wait 3 days. This type of thing is exactly what Commission President Ursula von der Leyen was talking about in last week's State of the Union address when she decried the need for unanimous approvals of all EU countries for any foreign policy decision, saying that needs to be changed to qualified majority voting. This is a case in point about the type of thing she's frustrated with.
Dave, what other tools does the European Union have in its toolbox, so to speak, to put pressure on Belarus, if not via sanctions?
Yeah, the EU can take a carrot and stick approach. Obviously, the stick is the sanctions, but a carrot could be funding and aid for Belarus. Poland has put together a plan in which the EU would give Belarus 1 billion euros, loan it 1 billion euros. And that is to answer back to Russia's loan to President Lukashenko of 1.5 billion euros. The Eastern European countries, particularly Poland and Lithuania, which share a border with Belarus and also share a common history, want the EU to really show its support financially as well. This is turning into another battle similar to what we saw in Ukraine, where the country is kind of torn in two between Russia to the east and the EU to the west. And of course, the situation in Ukraine unraveled to a war in the country's east and the annexation of Crimea. The EU is eager to avoid a repeat of that, but also wants to show its support to Belarus and stand up to Russia for what is seen as meddling there. Of course, there are other voices here in Brussels that say, look, Belarus is properly part of Russia's sphere of influence. We shouldn't be antagonizing them. So these are some tough talks going on with EU foreign ministers here today.
Dave, thanks for that. Dave Keating there reporting for us from Brussels.